And developing this noon, a massive data breach has compromised students and teachers across the country. And while the platform impacted is back up and running, for most users, experts say much of the damage has already been done.
A cyber attack leaving college students like Claire Daly in the dark.
All of a sudden it just wasn't loading, and I got the little note from the hackers.
Canvas is a platform used to manage grades, course notes, assignments, lecture videos, and is used by about 40% of higher education institutions across North America and 9,000 schools worldwide. The hacking group.
9,000 schools, 275 million records, stolen from a learning platform your kids probably use every day. And the cybersecurity industry is calling it a sophisticated attack. It wasn't. It was an IAM failure that should never have happened. Today, I'm breaking down how ShinyHunters actually got into Canvas, why the identity controls that should have stopped them didn't, and the 3 specific things every organization needs to put in place right now to prevent the same thing happening to them. Imagine it's finals week. Your child's been revising for months. They log into Canvas to submit their final paper, and the system's down. Not a glitch, not maintenance, a breach. A group called ShinyHunters has walked away with 3.65 terabytes of data. Names, email addresses, student ID numbers, even private messages between students, parents and staff across nearly 9,000 schools worldwide. And here's the part nobody in the news is telling you. The way they got in wasn't some zero-day exploit or nation-state malware. It was a free account, a free-for-teacher account. One under protected identity gave them the keys to the entire kingdom. Let that sink in. A free account. That's all it took. As an identity and access professional, I see this pattern every single time a breach this size hits the headlines. Overprivileged accounts, weak authentication boundaries, and no meaningful isolation between a free service and the production environment serving 30 million users. When I read the details of this attack, I wasn't surprised. I was frustrated, because every step of this was preventable. Not with some fancy new tool, but with IAM fundamentals that have been around for best practice for years. Let me walk you through exactly how this happened. Step 1. The entry point. On the 25th of April, ShinyHunters exploited a vulnerability in Canvas's Free for Teacher program. This is a free tier that lets individual teachers create Canvas accounts without going through an institution. It's a great idea for adoption, but from an identity perspective, it created a side door into the building, one that didn't have the same locks as the front entrance. Think of it like this. The main entrance to a school, the one students and staff use, has a reception desk, ID badges, a sign-in sheet. But around the back, there's a door for deliveries that's been propped open for convenience. This is essentially what the Free for Teacher account became. A delivery entrance with no reception desk, no badge check, and nobody watching who walks through. Step 2. Privilege escalation. Once inside, the attacker needed to move from a free, low-privilege account into the broader in-structure environment. Based on what's been disclosed, the Free for Teacher system wasn't properly isolated from the production infrastructure. That means the account ShinyHunters created or compromised had more reach than it ever should have had. In identity terms, this is a textbook least privilege failure. A free account should only ever access free account resources, full stop. If it can touch production data for 9,000 schools, something is fundamentally broken in your access model. Step 3. Lateral movement. With elevated access, ShinyHunters moved through Instructure's environment, harvesting data from institutional Canvas instances, student information systems and interlinked services. One overprivileged identity became the thread that unraveled the entire platform. And nobody noticed. Step 4. The extortion. ShinyHunters didn't deploy ransomware. They didn't encrypt anything. They just copied the data and threatened to publish it. When Instructure didn't engage by the 6th of May deadline, ShinyHunters escalated, defacing the login pages for roughly 330 schools with their own extortion message. They went from extorting one company to extorting 9,000 institutions individually. That is the supply chain effect in action. One breach at the top, thousands of victims downstream. If you're finding this breakdown useful, do me a favour, hit that like button. It helps this video reach more people who might be affected by this breach or working to prevent one just like it. So how do you actually stop this? Here are the 3 IAM controls that would have prevented every step of this attack. Enforce strong authentication on every identity, no exceptions. Every account that touches your production environment, even free ones, even trial accounts, even test environments, needs phishing-resistant MFA, passkeys or FIDO security keys, not SMS, not push notifications. Those can be fatigued, phished and bypassed. I covered exactly how that works in my video on MFA bypass. I'll link that in the description. If Instructure had required phishing-resistant MFA on free-for-teacher accounts, ShinyHunters likely couldn't have authenticated, even if they found the vulnerability. Control 2. Enforce least privileged access and tenant isolation. A free account should never, ever have a path to production institutional data. Period. This is Identity Isolation 101. Use conditional access policies to restrict free tier accounts to free tier resources only. Implement strict tenant boundaries so that even if an account is compromised, the blast radius is contained to that single tenant. Think of it like a hotel. A guest in room 101 shouldn't be able to access room 305, the kitchen, or the safe in the manager's office. Their keycard works for exactly one room and nothing else. That's the model you need for every identity in your environment. Control 3. Monitor for anomalous access in real time. 3.65 terabytes of data being accessed from a single account across 8,800 institutions should trigger alerts immediately. If you're not monitoring sign-in logs for unusual patterns, bulk data access, cross-tenant queries, access from unusual locations or at unusual hours, you're flying blind. And here is the professional secret. Most organizations I audit have the logs. They're collecting them. They're just not acting on them fast enough. Set up automated alerting, not manual review. By the time someone reads the log, the data's already gone. The news is calling the Canvas breach a sophisticated cyber attack. I call it what it is, an IAM failure. A free account with too much access in an environment with too few boundaries, and monitoring that was too slow to matter. Identity is the new perimeter. If you don't control who has access, you don't control your data. And in a supply chain world, your IAM failure doesn't hurt you. It hurts everyone downstream. If you want to learn how to protect your organization's identity, hit subscribe. I'm breaking down real breaches and real fixes, one practical step at a time. I'll see you in the next one.